Good day, YouTubers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world. What are we doing this week? Well, we're working on that second bowsprit framing member that we had to put planking on both sides and get all those notches shaped out and cut out. And I'm thinking to myself, before I can actually glue that piece into the bow of the boat, that the instructions wanted me to glue these little wings on there to hold up this bow deck netting. And in order to line up with the netting, the little notches and stuff in there, we got to make sure that these wings are in the exact right position. So I'm simulating. This is many steps ahead in the build process, but in order to glue these properly to that frame for lining up to those notches, I simulated ahead of time the rubbing stakes that's going to get mounted on the front there. They're going to go all the way around. There'll be several of them. I think like 4 or 5 of them. But that's what the space is here in the back. So these pieces are just setting in place so the glue can dry on these little wings. I use the files as something to hold them down while that glue dried. Because each one of these has got a little notch or a square hole cut in it for the wing there. So I got these 4 wings glued on to the frame of that bowsprit, and I used a rubber band to hold that bowsprit in just the right spot, centered up and everything. And then I put a piece of the actual bowsprit pole in the hole, so everything is lined up that way. And now we'll use these rubber bands again when we do the final glue up on that. So it gets in the right position. So yeah, looking at it from the side in the plans, it showed those things pretty much plumb up and down. And when this is up all the way without that rubbing stake on the front there and putting those in place, all of them were at an angle. So I had to simulate where that's going to sit at and then get these pieces glued up in the right position. I got a board in there that's not supposed to be there on the bottom, but got a little glue on it probably. We'll add more glue to this, get that board out of there, and then we'll get this ready to actually glue in place. And I'm thinking that, yeah, those rubbing stakes are going to stop on the side of it, so I can go ahead and do that like it's supposed to. I had to go like 20 steps ahead in the plans to find what those things look like and the part numbers and get them cut out so I can get those little wings to line up with them. So when we do glue this framing member on there, all those wings will be in the right spot to accept those little net things. Because without that, you could be off just a little bit and then the notches wouldn't line up. So that's why I went way ahead in the plans to make sure that those 4 little wings were exactly in the right spot. Before we actually glued that thing in place. Because it has it, after we got done planking the outside of it, it has us fitting these little wings on there. And then that's the symbol for gluing it to the ship. Fit it and glue it. And after that's glued, then we put this little decoration frame member on that helps support it. And of course we got to do that and do all the shaping on it. But at least we got this wings in the right spot to accept those other pieces later on. So once we get these little framing support decorations done and this piece is glued in place, then it wants us to do some rubbing stakes That says don't glue and this says glue. So we'll have to look at that real careful. Oh, and it also wants us to put some more planking here above that decoration frame and drill holes in for the anchor ropes. So that's something else we got to do before we start these rubbing stakes. Because later on down here, not the measurement for all the rubbing stakes. And start installing them. We're going to have to heat them up and bend them and all that and shape them because, yeah, right there it's using the shaping tool to put a profile in those cuts. Some of them are smaller than the other ones. That's a WS4 on that run and a WS6. So we got to keep that in mind. Up near the top of the deck we got the WS4 and down below it we got the WS6. No, that's a 4 there. Good grief, how WS4 and see after those rubbing stakes are on, we're masking off sanding and painting. And I mean painting the hull. So that's a big step between the masking and the taping and the painting. And all that takes place before we install those little grates that we just pulled off of there. But now we know those grates are going to be plug and play. So bunch of rubbing stakes to do and some anchor holes. We'll get this bowsprit top part glued on first. Yeah, see these rubbing stakes on the bottom here are WS6, which are bigger. Go to the parts list. WS6 is 2 millimeters thick by 5 millimeters. WS4 is 1.5 millimeters by 4 millimeters. So we'll have to watch that. And then this glue don't glue thing, boy, that's going to be something else we got to watch. So let me get that big piece glued in there, and then we'll work on this decoration frame of support. Gives us all the dimensions and everything for the anchor holes. I'm going to have to pre-shape those pieces to fit right before I glue that in place. That's these here. This is the one we messed up last week, so I cut a new one, but we got to pre-shape them to fit the hull of the ship and to have that shaping lines cut on them, just like we did on this one here. So that's what I got to do next. Okay, so we got all the trim pieces on the outside of this bowsprit frame. We got the bowsprit frame glued into the hull. We got the decoration frame support on both sides, and then we got the anchor hole for the anchor rope glued on. I sort of pre-bent those ahead of time in the vise and then just put the glue to it. So I got a 6 millimeter drill bit. It's really long, so I won't be impeded by a short regular drill bit and all this stuff in the way here. So I'm going to do a pilot hole first with another long, little bit skinnier drill bit. I don't know what I'm going to hit inside there. That looks like it went on through. It's not exactly in the center where I want to be though. I'm going to have to walk the other bit over. Yeah, that one moved over to the left also. Let's see if we can guide this over a little bit. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. Because that hole is there holding the flutes of the bit in the right position. Yeah. Nothing to it. So, other than chipping that up, it's got fresh glue on it, so I need to put a pin in there, hold that down. Then we'll have to file that a little bit. I'll put a pin in there. Let's see. A fairly straight pin. Most of all my pins are all bent up. And both of them boards are sticking up, aren't they? So I'm going to pre-bend it like that. And yeah, I'm not hitting nothing in the hole there, so I'm gonna slip back out. A rubber band won't really grab over there. That might. And then I can jam a block of wood in there. Yeah, that'll work. That'll hold pressure on it. Yeah, I can see from over here it's glue dries. It should hold it up against the deck or the hull. So now I got to drill out this side. And then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, how did we do on the next steps? Well, that was a little throwback to the era of planking and bending plank boards. You can see there we got pins and everything to hold it till the glue dried. I did get a little ways down there, at 3 rows started. We got a bunch more to do, but we're taking these 2 millimeters thick, which is a little thicker than the regular planking boards. The ones on the outside here are 1/2 millimeter thick, so they were real easy to work, but now we're working with the even thicker board that's acting as a rubbing stake. And we're soaking them in some water. Get some water on them. And we fire up this iron and lay them in there and put the bend to them. Make a little pre-mark on them so I know the area that we want to get it heated up and bend it. Once that iron gets hot and the water is soaked into the wood a little bit, they do bend. We're able to get them to conform really close to the shape of the hull. So we did make good progress there. I'm going to pull some pins out and go down the rest of the way, and then we got more to put on and get these hard ones done in the front where the bends are at first. And that's what we're following directions as far as which ones to do first and so on. There's that gap we created with that little spacer when we were getting these glued in the right place. So now when we place that deck grating up there, it should line up pretty good with the holes in the grating. We got this all glued up nice and solid. Got our other pieces of decoration frame supports shaped and glued up. So let's put some more planking on. These straight ones aren't bad at all. We just want to make sure we do put a couple pins in them here and there so that they hold the line that we want before that glue sets, based on where we start at here in the front. And we are having to measure for this space here off of these gun port holes, so we keep the same spacing as we come from the front on around. So we are pre-measuring that and making some little marks so we got the right spot to put the board on. That's as per instructions also. So pretty good progress. I'm gonna throw some more boards on there this morning. Here's Friday already. Just came from the men's breakfast Bible study and a little bit of shopping for my wife. Oh, and here I'm going to make some more planter bins from scratch with some sheet metal, the corrugated sheet metal, and some landscape timbers. So I'm doing some design work on how I want to create my planter bed to go in the greenhouse. So those are going to be 12 foot long and 32 inches wide. And we'll put them in there. And then I got some different shelves I want to build. Yeah, the planter bed will look something like that, but longer. And my wife has already drawn up what she wants. And then I'm going to build some of these to go on the end. So she's got a place for her trays. And then of course, it doesn't take her long to find something to add to my honeydew list. And she wants to have that built or something like it for washing her vegetables off, and put it outside the greenhouse against the fence over there right next to the front of the greenhouse. So, but all the veggies that we did plant, we've already harvested some onions and green beans, and These are snap peas, and not sure what that is, but I got to put some supports on that this morning for those because they're vining everywhere. My wife planted those. These are all growing. And then we got some okra. It's already popping out. Stuff grows pretty quick once you get it started. And then back here, good morning, birds. Daphne and Donald. Good morning. We got rid of the 2 roosters. We had 2 roosters. We didn't know it when we raised them from chicks, but 2 of them are roosters. And we found somebody to take them for free, so they took them. Good morning. These 2 black ones will come right up to you. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. We ain't got no eggs yet, though. Should be any day now. Those are fake eggs in there for trying to teach them where to lay it. So let me get to working here. Okay, so the last one on this 3rd run here, we got little marks there that represent the top of the board, trying to keep that line all the way down to the front where we started. And little trick is the very beginning pin I'm going to push in when that butts up. I got a good liberal amount of glue on here, and then the next pin sticking out a little more and a little more and a little more, so the board won't touch the surface until I'm ready to drive that pin in there. So I'm lining that up with the other board and my mark, and then try to get the second mark by eye before I jam this first pin in. Now the second mark is lined up and the pin's sticking out a little bit on the back, so all I got to do is push it down in there, and that sets the pin into the wood, and then I can put some more pressure on it. I got the ship setting sideways in this styrofoam block, so it's fairly sturdy where it's at. So now I'm sort of eyeballing the top of that board with that line. Down here on the end I got a little V-shaped line that I'm going to land to, and it's really close, but the board's going to want to come up some. So the last pin pushed into the point of that V, and it's curving the way the shape of the ship is here. The board wants to lay flat, so we're forcing it to make that curve, get the pin in as deep as we can, and then we're gonna, you see that there, that little bit of flex. We're gonna use the hammer to try to tap that down into the right spot. And we may even have to add another pin to pull that bottom down. Yeah, because this pin isn't really doing it. It's holding the position right, but it's not pulling the bottom of the board down to the hull. So I'm using old pins that we've used over and over again. These are just straight pins that you get from Walmart in the sewing department. I cock it where I'm not going to bend it when I force it in there. Get near the bottom here. And now it's in and it's pretty much through. That's just the amount of pressure we need to pull that down. We're nice and flush over here. So that side is done for those three. Turn it this way because I hit my monitor. I got these other three down to the end, so now we got 3 cut boards to put on here. And this first row, we're just following the bottom of the cannon holes in the gun ports, and then we do the same with the second row. Just follow the bottom of the holes as close as we can. And the third row, we're having to make a mark that matches the dimension in the front. So now let's do these last 3 here, and then we'll go on to the next step, which is let me zoom you guys in. Yeah, those 3, WS6, which is the fatter board, and then it switches to WS4 and doing some profile cutting on it and shaping. And that's going to be the top near the deck line. And we got some more WS4s that are shaped to run on the deck line, below the railings, a whole bunch of them. They're going to be a little more time consuming because we got the shaping. Oh, and it looks like this run here has got to be cut in between each gun port hole. That's going to be fun. Between the shaping and the cuts, that's going to take time. We'll work on that. And once we get all them rubbing stakes on, trying to make sure. Let me look at the big screen here because it's a little better to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus the deck line. Good grief. So we got 3 done after we finish these short ones. But then there's 3 more sets plus the deck line cuts, and they're shaped and they're cut around different things. Then it looks like it's filler and sand and mask. Get ready for paint. Wow. I don't think we'll get to painting next week, but we will try to get all these boards finished. Well, there you have it. All the main rubbing stakes are done on both sides. Got everything glued up and drying. See if I can spin this around. So we got all the ones done on this side too. So now we got the ones with the profile that we got to put on it. All along the deck lines. There's one here with the profile that's going to go on both sides. We got to cut the profile into it. But good progress for this week. Thanks for watching.